She slammed her clipboard on the counter and pointed at me like I'd just committed a crime. "You're done. Pack your stuff and get out." I stood there, still wearing my grease-stained overalls, hands covered in oil. The ambulance behind me was humming softly. I had just replaced the faulty brake lines. It was the county's backup unit, the one nobody ever touched because the funding never came through. "I fixed it," I said, confused. "The brakes were failing. That thing wasn't safe." "I don't care," she snapped. Her name was Linda, but around here everyone called her Karen. Head of the HOA, married to a city councilman, and now somehow overseeing city fleet maintenance. It didn't even make sense. But nothing about her ever did. She leaned in, voice cold. "That ambulance was scheduled for auction. Now the city won't get a dime because you messed with it." I looked at her, stunned. "You were gonna sell it, even with the brakes like that?" Her smirk told me everything. "I was doing my job," I muttered. "No," she said, crossing her arms. "You were poking around where you shouldn't. You're not even certified for ambulance work. You're just a mechanic. Just a mechanic." She didn't know. Didn't know about the lives that rig had saved, or that I used to drive one. 10 years as an army medic, and 6 more with the fire department. Until the accident. "Leave now," she barked. "Or I'm calling security." As I turned to grab my things, I caught a glimpse of something in her bag. A folded document with the city seal on it, and an auction slip. But it wasn't just for the ambulance. It listed 3 emergency vehicles, all marked unsalvageable, all actually fixable, and all signed off by Linda. My stomach dropped. She wasn't just trying to fire me. She was hiding something. And I just stepped right into it. She fired me for fixing a life-saving ambulance, but I knew right then, this wasn't over. The shop was silent as I walked out, the kind of silence that feels loud in your chest. I didn't say a word to anyone. Most of the crew kept their heads down. They knew how Karen operated. Step out of line, and you're done. But this wasn't just about me. I couldn't shake what I saw in her bag. 3 vehicles, declared unsalvageable. I sat in my truck across the street for nearly an hour, heart pounding. I pulled up the city's auction website on my phone. There it was, Unit 47, the same ambulance I'd just worked on, listed for auction next week. Status, non-operational. Non-operational? That thing was running smoother than it had in years. Something was wrong. I still had the repair log on my tablet. Before she fired me, I'd submitted the work order, signed, time-stamped with video proof. I knew what I had, but I also knew Karen wouldn't go down easy. She had her hands in every department. City Hall, Fleet Services, even the HOA. I had to be careful. So I called someone I hadn't spoken to in a long time. "Hey, it's me," I said, when he answered. Silence. Then a slow chuckle. "Didn't think I'd hear from you again." "Listen," I said, lowering my voice. "I think someone's running a scam through the city's emergency fleet." "Names?" "Karen Ellison." The pause was longer, this time. "You know she's married to the councilman, right?" "I know," I said. "That's why I need you." He sighed. "All right, I'll meet you tonight. Bring everything." As the call ended, I looked back toward the garage. Karen had come back outside. She was standing next to the ambulance. She picked up her phone and laughed at something. Then she ripped out the brake lines. Right there, in broad daylight. And I realized she wasn't just trying to cover her tracks. She was setting me, and she destroyed the evidence, and I was the last one who touched it. That night I drove out to the edge of town. A diner just off Route 19. Quiet, half-lit, the kind of place no one asked questions. He was already there, sitting in a booth by the window, same leather jacket, same sharp eyes. "Still driving that rust bucket?" he said with a smirk as I slid into the seat. "Still pretending you're retired?" I shot back. This was Marcus. We'd served 2 tours together. He left the Army for Homeland Security, but he never really left anything. I handed him the tablet. All the repairs, video footage, She fired me 2 minutes after I submitted it. He scrolled through it slowly, then leaned back. This is solid. You documented everything. She tore the brakes out after I left, I added. Right in the open, she knows I saw her. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Then why isn't she hiding? I hesitated. Because she doesn't have to. He nodded slowly. She's baiting you. I blinked. What? She's not just trying to erase the evidence, she wants you to react, to come back, to make a scene. Then she files a report, claims you're unstable, dangerous. End of story. I felt a cold knot tighten in my stomach. She's done this before, hasn't she? Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he pulled a folder from his coat, slid it across the table. Inside were 3 names, all ex-city employees, fired or disgraced. 2 of them were arrested within weeks of challenging Karen's authority. One of them, dead. Overdosed, Marcus said quietly. At least, that's what they wrote. I sat there in stunned silence. She's been laundering city funds through fake emergency auctions, he continued. And anyone who gets in her way either disappears or gets buried in legal trouble. I looked down at the tablet. My name was already next on her list. What do we do? I asked. Marcus leaned forward. You said there was video footage, but that ambulance had internal cams too, right? I nodded. Yeah. Dash cam, rear, cabin, engine bay. And she doesn't know you activated them when you were testing it. My eyes widened. No. She has no idea. He smiled. Then we don't fight fire with fire. I leaned in. We bury her with the truth. She wanted a reaction. What she didn't know was I hit record before she even fired me. The next morning, I parked 2 blocks from the city fleet yard. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the place. Karen had already filed a formal trespass notice. One wrong move, and I'd be in cuffs. But I wasn't going inside. Marcus had pulled security schedules. We knew when the cameras looped and who was on duty. The real play wasn't sneaking in. It was watching her. From the back of my truck, I set up a live stream, not public, just to a secure folder Marcus had access to. The second anything went wrong, the footage would auto-upload to 6 different cloud servers. I wasn't taking chances. At exactly 9:17 a.m., Karen pulled up in her Mercedes. She wasn't alone. A man in a gray suit stepped out with her, someone from city accounting. I recognized him from council meetings. They walked right into the bay where the ambulance sat, still marked for auction. She opened the back doors. He looked confused, like something wasn't adding up. Then I saw her pull out a toolkit. I hit record. She started cutting wires. Engine cam, dash recorder. Even tried prying out the black box. The accountant looked panicked. He kept glancing. Over his shoulder, Karen, calm as ever. Then she did something that made my blood run cold. She placed a folded manila envelope on the floor of the ambulance, carefully, like a trap. Then turned to the guy and said, loud enough for the camera mic to catch, "This'll make it look like he came back to sabotage it. The prints will match, he's already on file." I clenched my fists. She was setting me up for a federal offense, tampering with emergency services. That was prison time. But what she didn't know was that the ambulance's external cameras were still functional. The night before I left, I rewired the power supply. They recorded separately, independently, and all of it, everything was being streamed. I called Marcus. "She just planted evidence," I whispered. "We got her, on tape." He was silent for a second. Then, "Meet me at the station, but don't walk in, just wait in the lot." I frowned. "Why?" "Because the lieutenant we need? He doesn't trust half his own department. Karen's got eyes everywhere." I stared at the screen. She was still in the ambulance, still talking, still confessing. She thought she erased the evidence, but she didn't know the whole thing was live. I waited outside the station for 20 minutes, kept my head low, eyes on the rear view. Every time a cruiser pulled in, my pulse jumped. Finally, a black SUV parked 2 rows behind me. Tinted windows. Out stepped a man in plain clothes, with a badge clipped to his belt and the kind of calm that only comes from seeing way too much. He walked straight to my window. "You're the mechanic?" he asked. I nodded. He didn't smile, just said, "Get in the back." I climbed into the SUV. Marcus was already inside, laptop open. Footage paused at the frame where Karen was holding the envelope in her gloved hand. The lieutenant, his name was Daniels, watched 10 seconds of it, then 30, then a full minute. "You're telling me this was streamed live?" he asked. "Backed up in 6 places," Marcus replied, all with timestamps. City metadata, voice print matches. She even name drops the councilman at one point. Daniels rubbed his jaw, then pulled out his phone. "Get a unit to the fleet yard," he said into it quietly. "I want that ambulance locked down now. Nobody in or out." Then he turned to me. "Do not go home. Do you understand me?" I blinked. "Why?" "Because the second she finds out you're not taking the fall, she'll come looking for the backup files. Or worse, she'll try to make you disappear too." Marcus chimed in. "We've seen what she does to people who threaten the operation." Daniels nodded. "She's not going down without a fight. But this time, we've got her on multiple counts: fraud, evidence tampering, conspiracy, attempted framing, and that's before the federal charges kick in." I sat back, overwhelmed. "She tried to destroy me for fixing a brake line," I muttered. Marcus looked at me. "She didn't fire you because you fixed it. She fired you because you exposed it." Daniels leaned forward. "But you made one mistake." My heart jumped. "What?" "You didn't come to us sooner." He let that hang in the air. Then added, "But you also made the smartest move possible. You hit record." She played her game like she always did, but this time she picked the wrong mechanic. That night, the news broke. Not the full story, just enough to cause whispers. City fleet under investigation. Multiple emergency vehicles recalled from auction. Possible fraud allegations. Karen wasn't named yet, but she knew. She must have known. Because at 11:42 p.m., a black sedan rolled up outside my sister's house. That's where I was staying, somewhere off the grid, no official tie to my name. She had no way of finding me. Unless someone on the inside tipped her off. I peeked through the blinds. The car idled for 5 minutes, then slowly drove off. Marcus texted seconds later. "Change location, now. They're watching drop points." We had backup plans. 3 safe houses, routes with no cameras, phones on airplane mode. This wasn't just a Karen story anymore. This was deep. The next morning, Daniels called. "She's gone," he said. "What?" "Didn't show up to the council meeting. Home address is empty. We got a warrant, but the place was scrubbed. Phones off, devices wiped, passport missing." "She's running?" I asked. "Looks that way, but don't worry, we've got the paper trail. Her husband's account funded those unsalvageable auctions. She's got too many signatures in too many places. She can't disappear everything." Marcus leaned over the speaker. "And we're about to make sure she can't disappear. From public memory either." I didn't get it until Marcus showed me the site he launched that afternoon. HOFraudfiles.com. Front page. A freeze frame of Karen holding the envelope inside the ambulance. Headline, "Mechanic fired for saving lives. Here's why she tried to silence him." The footage, the auction list, my repair logs, her voice, her face, all of it. It spread fast. First Reddit, then YouTube, then local media. By nightfall, HOA Karen was trending in 5 states. Daniels called again. "She just made a mistake," he said. I was tired. What now? She got cocky. She crossed state lines with fake ID and tried to withdraw funds from a flagged account. Surveillance caught her. FBI picked her up at the airport. I froze. They got her? He chuckled. They got her. And her husband. He tried to pull rank on the agents. Didn't go well. I stared at the screen where her smug face had once stared into the ambulance camera. Now replaced him with a mugshot. She wanted me arrested. Instead, she got exposed. To the whole damn country. A week later, I stood in front of the same ambulance bay where it all started. It felt different now. No more lies. No more cover-ups. Just sunlight hitting the metal roof and a quiet hum of machines being repaired honestly. Daniels offered me my job back. Even said I could run the garage, clean house, hire who I wanted. I said no. Not because I didn't care, but because that chapter was closed. I didn't want to walk into that building every day and remember what nearly happened. Besides, something bigger had opened up. People were reaching out from all over the country. Whistleblowers, mechanics, nurses, even city employees from other states. They all had Karens, and they all needed someone who wasn't afraid to hit record. So Marcus and I launched a new project, a watchdog network. Former military, tech experts, legal minds, all dedicated to exposing the people who abuse power under fake rules and HOA lies. We called it Silent Wrench. Because sometimes it's not the loudest guy who brings justice, it's the one who knows how to fix what's broken without making a sound. Last I heard, Karen was facing 15 federal charges: impersonation, fraud, tampering with emergency systems, even conspiracy to commit false arrest. She tried everything. Lawyers, threats, even claimed mental illness. But the footage? That didn't lie. When the judge asked why I kept the video running even after being fired, I told him the truth. I wasn't trying to catch her. I was just doing my job. She caught herself. The courtroom went silent. And that's when I realized this wasn't about revenge. It was about the next guy, the next woman, the next whistleblower who needed to know they weren't alone. Because someone had to take a stand. And this time, it just happened to be the mechanic. Fixed the brakes. She tried to break me, but in the end, truth drove better than fear ever could. The end.